Hi guys, my name is Baradante, and welcome back to the game. I decided to make I decided to make another one of those videos where I just tell you guys what I did to the game. And this is Guts. We've seen a lot of him. And this is a headhunter. And he's just, swimming by. So, a few cool new things I added here and there. I've been experimenting with applying animations from the Rococo Smart Suit to John, just a little bit, seeing how I can apply things, how they actually work out and everything. It turns out quite fun. Literally the only thing that's actually applied that way with the new animation right now is the focused animation. So when I'm doing this with the right mouse click, John is doing this movement now. He's not just standing like a robot, he's actually like doing certain things that I was doing. And actually I have this little trick right here, the developer trick, to leave John's body and have a look at him. So he actually has a face. He's like looking like, what the hell is that? That's the face. I didn't make it with my own face, I just tweaked the control rig of John's face. I didn't really need an expression at all because we never see John's face when we're focused. But like generally the posture and the movement, it's actually a relatively long animation and it perfectly loops. All of that I did, like I made it loop inside of Unreal Engine because there are like animation editing tools in here and everything in Unreal Engine 5, which is awesome. You can do like everything in here anymore. You don't even need Blender. Well, kind of like you can actually like sculpt and everything, like texture, do UV mapping, everything. But I guess more tools are available in Blender, for instance. But yeah, you can see the flashlight gets broken when I leave John's body with my camera, because this is not supposed to happen, especially while you're focused. But yeah, I'll just go as I see the changes I did, and I'll tell you guys about it. So, first of all, Headhunter is one of the neonate enemies, one of the basic enemies I also created, aside from Guts. And I just decided, what the hell, why can't I just quickly create another enemy so he would wander around? And I pretty much did that. He's not even animated at all, he's like a shape. He doesn't have like skeletal animation the way Guts has, not to mention no actual animations applied to it. So he's just moving around. I put him inside of a code of an enemy, the same code that Guts uses. So he's walking around trying to attack me, and you're seeing a bunch of new stuff that I created. There's also a little shake of the grass as enemies walk around like that. And myself included, but more on that in a moment. But yeah, this guy is just walking around. Right now, no one can attack me. I mean, Guts can attack me if I come closer, but he can't attack me because this is, I've been walking around in this session of the game for a while, and these enemies just wandered away quite far from the zone where they can actually walk around the way this Guts can do, for instance. So he will be walking at me. Let me actually restart right here. So that's where they all start. And if we play right here, all the gang is gonna walk at me. But you can see Headhunter just reaches me, and then he's just staying next to me. He can't do much for now because actually the attack part is defined. Like there is an attack signal to start an attack for every enemy whenever I use the code of an enemy, but what to do inside of the command of the attack is up to every specific enemy with their shape of the body and the speed of the attack and everything. So Guts, for instance, he starts swinging his guts, gut hands, gut arms around, and those arms have like hitboxes on them, and when those hitboxes touch John, that's where John gets damage. So it's like very tactile. It's not just like if Guts is near John and does the attack, John just gets the attack. No, there's actually like if you geometrically happen to be overlapping the arms of Guts as he's swinging them, that's when you get damage. And nothing like that is written for Headhunter for now, of course, because he's not even capable of swinging anything. Anyway, I just added that model. He kind of looks cool. I actually made the model of Headhunter bigger. He's actually originally like a smaller thing. He's like more of a normal sized head with little tentacles hanging off of it. But it seems like he looks much better when he's like a bit bigger. I feel like Headhunter will be like more of a dangerous enemy. But yeah, anyway, back to the animation of John. So this is the latest thing I did, like I was playing around with the animation. So this is John standing in his focused pose. And I was experimenting with making sure that I combine the pose of the whole body animation with the face animation, because those are two separate files. I think there is a way to make it in one file. I think I should try to make it combined. That would be cleaner. But yeah, in this case we have two things together, and really for a cutscene it makes sense to just, you know, record the face and the body all together into one storytelling animation. But for the for the in-game mechanics, like here we can see him from the back. By the way, the legs are moving differently, like they're actually the way I was standing in the suit, the way we see him right now with the separate John model. But the way I'm standing when I'm focused with this actual player John, he's standing the way he's standing or walking, because that's the walking animation part. So I'm not affecting the legs with this focused animation, because they need to keep walking around. I can like blend it in more. Like for instance, if the velocity of the character is 0, so he's just standing still, I can just switch fully to this animation. And if I start walking around, that's where legs switch to the walking part. I don't know, I think it's all fun. It's interesting how in this game development shenanigan, you can really do whatever your heart desires. It's kind of cool. You know, you make an effort, things become more fun. Anyway, next part, I really wanted to share with you guys real quick, the flashlight. And this is the funny thing, I feel like I'll put it in the title of this video, but like, with all the graphics of Unreal Engine 5, why the hell am I faking a flashlight effect? By faking, I mean I made like all this glow, and the glow from the side, like this foggy glow, and the glow from the back especially, which I'm like super happy with. It looks very artsy, you know, like this glowing halo behind the character that's using a flashlight. I feel like it's too strong for physically correct stuff, but I absolutely love it. It almost looks iconic in a way, how like it's a strong silhouette of the character, and if I like turn off the character light, that's even a stronger silhouette. The way I used to make paintings of characters a lot. But yeah, I'll show you guys in a moment how this flashlight is made. It's not a light or fog effect at all. It's just a few simple shapes that have a special shader on them. So I wrote that from scratch, it's kind of fun. But another cool thing about the flashlight, it actually has like these rings now. So it's not like a basic perfect cone of a 3D graphics lighting, like a spotlight type of light, but it actually has this projecting kind of thing. Maybe it's too intense, I don't know, but generally like I dialed it in a little bit to make it not too strong, and you know, flashlights have this kind of stuff sometimes. I really like it. It makes things a bit more interesting, so that's kind of cool looking, so it's always there. Yeah, about the flashlight, we actually can run around to a nearby area right here, so you can see this ring of the light a little bit under John's feet all the time. Yeah, this is this light as well. Oh, and yeah, by the way, I added a quick, simple model of the flashlight that actually turns on the bright material, like the light bulb of the flashlight switches from this metallic material like this to the actual like glowing light. Just a quick little setup. Literally a box and a cylinder, almost, with a little bit concave thing of the metallic part, but overall that's all it is. Almost like an Instagram thumbnail, but like it's better than nothing. I can keep tweaking the shape, adding some little details here and there. So yeah, and this is this light from the side, and I think I can like use my mouse right now to do some funny stuff, to show you guys a little thing. I'll put it like right here. So here's the material, I can see it right here, and I can tweak a few things about it. I'll try to like make it fall apart so it will become obvious. So depth fade, number one, this is a really cool thing. If I tone it down, you will now see, like, you see this difference. If it's at 0, or I can just like disable it altogether, yeah, you will now very obviously see that this is like two cones shooting from this flashlight, like a polygonal cones that overlap. But they still have like soft edges wherever they don't overlap. And that's because of this like gradient that is actually fading based on where the camera is looking at it. So right here, I can like tweak it a little bit. Oh, that's fall off. It's like how much it fades with distance as well. So it's like all fake. You can dial in anything. You can make it not fall off with distance. And yeah, Fresnel. This is what makes the edges of the cones soft, like on the sides here. So if I remove the power, we can now see this is literally a few cones. So it's really just a bunch of like smoke and mirror kind of effects to make it look like a legit volumetric cone. And we add some Fresnel to fade it away. 3 is a good number for the power of stuff like this. Fall off power, also as far as I know, 3 is a good number, but maybe 2, maybe 1. 1 is like the linear gradient. I think it should be like perfectly fading off, but it will look a little bit like flat. Like 2 would look a bit closer to the way light actually propagates in space, how much it fades in space with distance. But in reality, it's actually cubic. Light always cubically in the power of 3 fades away, much more strongly fades away. I think that's because we're in 3-dimensional space. It has something to do with that. So that's fall off, and the only thing that's left is this weird overlap. And this is like the weirdest thing, this depth fade. It's such a strange thing, it's hard to understand what it does, but somehow it analyzes like how far away the nearest surface is from the surface of the shader. And if it's like getting close, the shader gets fading away more and more. So you can like eat away from the brightness of the shader if something's nearby, which is almost indistinguishable from the way an actual fog acts, like a shape of fog. So that's about it on the cone, but there's another thing which is like this glow, which looks a bit weird when it's disconnected from John. But like this is pretty much the same thing, but it's like a flat polygon. I think I can kind of make it show up. Yep, so you can see these two cones and like this big flat disc. Could use less polygons on it, of course, but whatever. I was just quickly experimenting. Like the cones especially, they have a lot of polygons on them. But yeah, there's like a tiny disc. You can see it right here, this little disc, and the bigger disc. So both of them are meant to show like a fog when you're looking at them. So they're pretty much using the same shader, but they're just of a different flat shape. So whenever you're looking straight at this disc, it's nice and bright with a nice fade around the edges. But as you go to the side, like look at it from the side, it fades away more and more. Pretty much uses the same Fresnel effect in this case to fake this kind of thing. So when you're looking at the flashlight from the front, or in this case from the back as well, I could separate it and make, for instance, the back side not as bright, like this glow is kind of weird for the back view. But I kept it because I think it looks really artsy and cool to see this bright glow behind John like this. So yeah, this effect, you can see a little halo right next to the light bulb of the flashlight as well, that smaller disc. But the bigger disc right here is creating a bright light, because when we're looking from the front on the cones, they actually disappear as well. The only way to show it is to add another polygon that will show this bright glowing effect when you look from the front. So that's a flashlight. I think I'll drop a few shaders in the description of the video. If you guys are interested, you can grab the material for it. I think it will be like from the Unreal Engine 5.3 though, because I created it in 5.3. But you can, you know, use 5.3 to see the node tree and repeat it in any version you want. Because it's really, I think it can work in like Unreal Engine 3 if you want. That's probably the way many games use flashlight effects for sure. And like why I'm using this instead of like using actual atmospheric fog being lit up by the flashlight, I can actually show you guys right now. So that's it. If we remove shaders, there's no foggy effects at all. And that's actually because I make sure, like, you can define if the light affects the atmospheric fog normally, or like much lower or much stronger. And so we simply have this setting on the light, volumetric scattering intensity, and it's like at 0.1. So if I make it like 1, or to make sure it's visible, I'll make it like 3. And yeah, that's what the cone of the flashlight, the way it actually looks like when it's just the actual volumetric effect lit up by the light. So it's not very good with like dynamic things, very strong contrast stuff. And most importantly, if I just move forward, you can see that cone just keeps having this trail and it's like piercing through John. Literally, as I'm moving forward, you can see his back kind of lights up a little bit. So if I go into this, you can see like some kind of weird thing goes through the John's back, and that would be like constant. So the fog in Unreal Engine 5 and generally like in modern games, they can look really good, but like don't move them too much. Don't make like precise lighting effects on them, because this is what you're gonna be looking at a lot. So you can't do that. That's not looking good at all. You can introduce a little bit of it to make sure it fades away quickly enough if John is moving around fast. That's why I kept like that 0.1 value on it. So if I'm like in a very strong, dense fog, a little bit of brightness will be added to the flashlight's cone, but that's about it. You know, it's not as responsive to the environment. Like if you're in the strong fog again, it won't show up as much. Like if you think about it, I think I could introduce a little bit more of that. Let's try 0.33 instead of 0.1. All right. Yeah, now we're seeing some of that flicker. So we are definitely lighting up the fog now as well. But we are not relying on that effect to show up as a cool, precise cone next to the flashlight itself, because it wouldn't show up at all in there as we saw before. So it's like a combination of two now. And like, yeah, it's still showing this gross trail. I think you can make like this temporal freezing effect a bit shorter, but then it will have like some weird other problems, like some kind of wobbly noise going on in it or something like that. But yeah, you can see it's even like from the edges of the screen, this thing is kind of gross. Not a good idea to use dynamic lights too much on the volumetric fog, for now anyway. But yeah, real happy with this little flashlight I got here. Now, about the bushes shake. Fully written from scratch. I'm sure I could find some material functions online to make it work, but I don't know, I wanted to do it my way. It's actually really funny how you do it. You would think like there's no way it's just like some kind of fake material thing. Totally is. It's really funny how it works. So it just like uses a black and white gradient that fades away from where the character is. And inside of that fade, I just use like a color correction effect, linear fade, and I apply a sign to it with time that's moving around. And that's how things actually shake around. So one thing is that I'm like pushing the whole thing a little bit away from John as he's entering, but the most exciting part is the actual shake. Hello. And yeah, something no one should know, but there is the shake from John on the bushes, and there is a shake from the nearest enemy. One nearest enemy. The other enemy is going behind them. They won't do the shake. And like, hopefully the player just won't notice. The thing is like, this is not something you can just apply to everyone who's walking around. It's like a very specific thing. You're sending a set of parameters that the materials can pick up later, and it's like a very finite thing. You can send like an array of coordinates of who's moving around. It's like a very specific amount, and like you can send 1, you can send 2, you can send 3, but like where do you stop? Well, I decided so far to stop on like John and one other character in front of John. And by the way, in front of the camera. Behind the camera, those guys don't count. So the nearest enemy in front of John, the nearest enemy we're actually looking at. So it's good stuff. So you just apply it to like the parent material of all the foliage, and all the foliage starts shaking like this. But yeah, I guess that's it on this shake. It's really hard to share this material function thing like I could, but it requires a lot of specific parameters that you're sending from the character, and like it's like a multi-model thing that you need to share. Like it's a lot of the code is just a part of John and the enemies and everything. So it's a weird thing to share, but there's like quite a few tutorials online how to do this kind of stuff. But yeah, what I could control as well is that like on certain shorter bushes like this, the shake is like much quicker. It's like shaking like something smaller, a quicker sine function happening there. On a bigger bush, you can see it's like shaking a bit slower because it's, you know, bigger radius of shake. It looks fun. I really like this. It's doing it like in the direction in which John is walking. Also, it leaves a little bit of the trail, not too much, but like bushes don't stop immediately if John is quickly walking away. It has a little bit of the trail, not a huge one, but it's there. So yeah, it may seem like a weird thing to do all of this before actually making the game itself, but you know, I'm learning things, and it's fun for me to set up stuff that actually make me feel like the game is alive. So I think it's important, and if it works for me to do it in this order, why should I stop myself? Another thing I was experimenting with, I showed you guys the camera system last time, and this is the camera that's you softly switch to, and it keeps spinning around this area in a loop forever. I'm not gonna be using this in the final game for this area, but like it's fun to have the ability to like actually loop forever, and wherever you wanna just leave, you can leave, and it transitions back here. And yeah, you can do that as much as you want at any point. Really cool. Make sure not to do it, you know, when the camera is behind the tree, because it will do that. So yeah, many things, like it's fun that it works, but don't use it the wrong way. I mean, you can spin the camera or make it do something in a loop, but like don't make it go behind something a lot, because of course if the character walks away, the camera will have to overlap. Oh, I also fixed a lot of stuff about the normals on the jacket. I was importing them and it was applying automatically some weird weighted normals to the model of the jacket. It actually looks way better right now just because I imported it correctly. A quick thing, but a good result. This is the way the jacket should actually look like. Oh yeah, another cool thing, something that you guys may have noticed right away actually. The landscape now actually has like two main areas, like there's like forest floor with a bunch of debris on it, like this orangey brownish kind of thing, and it's closer to like the foliage usually. This is the kind of stuff that I'm hand painting on the landscape now, and now this other area is kind of like the moist black soil, where there's a lot less of that debris going on, and I think it brought a lot of things to life with this being introduced to all of the surface right here. I think it looks really cool, so I can really play around with it to make things a bit more complicated looking. And yeah, I made PCG, that procedural content generation thing from Unreal Engine 5, to work with the way I paint on the landscape. What I'm trying to say is PCG is this special programming system where I define a set of rules and it throws all the trees and bushes and stones and rocks, branches and piles on the ground ground according to these rules. So all of this, like, I never put it manually on the ground. They're all spread around according to the rules I defined. I showed it a lot previously, but you can see these like 3D piles of this forest floor, right? They're like volumetric little heaps. So they only show up where I painted the orange forest floor material, and on the black stuff it doesn't touch it, so it remains flat, or almost flat, because I am using actual displacement. I think it looks pretty cool, and it will look better when I actually get to migrate to the final version of Unreal Engine 5.4. So far it will just look like this, and yeah, the main thing, I just like that there is now actually 3 materials, 3 or like almost 4 materials on the landscape. So the black one, the orange one, and like the mud, this yellow mud, like neonate mud in a way. It's a pretty cool one. It also has an effect on displacement that actually goes deeper, like a puddle, you know? It's a bit too strong right now, but this is the kind of effect that you can only see from a distance, so if you want the player to notice it at all, you know, make it a bit too strong, so it looks kind of cool. But yeah, another material on the landscape is actually the grass landscape, and what's cool with this material is that when I paint it, weed material, so when I paint this, the actual grass starts growing where I paint it, like this particular yellow something grass. They pop up wherever I paint this material. So that's pretty cool. This kind of stuff is like old things. It's not PCG or anything. This is like the way Unreal Engine 4 worked. But yeah, like we can paint in that mud and it will remove the bushes right away. And you can see it like pushes the ground down. But the PCG part, like all of this, all the forest is just this one actor of PCG. Right now, if I regenerate it, like refresh it, it will look at the fact that there's like a puddle of mud in this area, and it will remove a bunch of stuff from here. I hope. There it is. So now there's no sticks hovering over or some kind of weird bushes. These actually stuck around, which is interesting. Like this is the part of the landscape. I guess I haven't tested much when the actual grass is sharing the edge with the mud. I guess one way to fix it is to add a line of just bold ground before this thing. And there we go, it looks nice. But yeah, it's really cool how PCG actually talks to the landscape material. Like, it's actually very easy to do. I think they improved it in the latest version, 5.3. And yeah, this is what the actual mod looks like. It's kind of cool. So, simple rules that make things much more automated. Really cool. And yeah, about creating the John's animation, which I'll be doing much more. Just today I finished experimenting with this focused animation. So it was really cool. I imported it from Rococo Studio and I did a few things, like I made sure feet freeze in place completely. It was very easy to do. I corrected, like, because like the origin of the character would be here, but the John would actually appear in here and doing the animation. So I dragged him into the original place. I made sure the feet don't slide. I fixed the positioning of the shoulders a little bit. That's something you always do when you retarget to another character with different proportions. Like the shoulders would be raised too much usually in my case. So yeah, those little fixes introduced here and there. Right now, this particular animation doesn't have the face. Like face has nothing going on here. But like if I bring in, there's like a bunch of these level sequencers. So this one, I think, where I originally created the animation. And if I open that, John will actually move around with a very complicated face. And this stuff was just done using this thing. So you may have seen this controller on the demos of Unreal Engine 5. And this is like this super cool thing where you can do whatever you want with it. Like, these controls are actually very complicated, and it's easy enough to, like, it's actually as easy as it can be for such a complex thing as a human face. It's easy enough to make a good pose of a face a pose. but don't even try to like animate a realistic movement of a human face. That's like insane amount of work, and it's just not gonna work very well at all. Like if you want to move the face, just use an iPhone and like stream your facial animation in real time, because it's not just about the poses, it's about the timing of the way the face moves. That's insane to make a realistic movement like that. So yeah, when I'll be actually doing the animation of the face as well, I'll make sure I capture my face with the iPhone. But yeah, the whole thing is like working in nonlinear animation stuff, so this is where I baked the original Smart Suit animation to the control rig from. So this layer is where all the keyframes of that animation are. Looking boss like this. It's all gray because this layer I made sure you can't mess with it. And this is the second layer, and it barely has anything on it like this one. And this is the one I actually work with. It's additive. What it means is, like, however John is moving around, what if I want him to do the same thing but with this arm sticking to the side, you know? This is something I define in this extra layer, like second MetaHuman control rig layer. And now he will like raise, like, because there's already one keyframe there, but like he's now doing this focused animation but just raising his hand. A bunch of fixes can be introduced, like as I mentioned before, if your foot is twisted from the Smart Suit capture, just rotate it once, the whole animation keeps happening, and you just get to, you know, tweak it once and it will just work at a different angle. That's how easy it is. And what's cool is, like, I used to always do it in Blender, now I can just do it right here in Unreal Engine. MetaHumans have these cool control rigs ready to be used. I also adjusted the rotation of knees. His knees were kind of like this originally, which was stupid. So I twisted them like this. And yeah, that's about it. Made a complex face, and then I just baked it all together with this command, bake animation sequence. So then you get the actual file to use in whatever when you press focus. Oh my god. Put yourself together, man. There we go. So yeah, the animations are happening, slowly but surely starting, so to speak. This is like the biggest thing. It's a complex endeavor, and I make sure I do it right. I'm doing things slowly a lot of the times, but that's like because I'm learning things, and I don't rush, and I make sure when I do a little thing, I make sure I do it to the end, like do it well. I think in programming and stuff like that, it's important when you're doing the first thing, finish it and do it really well. Because while you'll try to reach that polished final proper state of that little thing you're doing, you will learn so much more comparing to if you like rush through things and try to, you know, half-ass everything. So I think I get to learn a lot more and make a lot less mistakes, and in the future we'll get a much better game as a result. So yeah, this is it. Let me know what you guys think. I'll keep working probably mostly on the animation. My main goal so far is to make sure John is moving around properly. So maybe the next video where I actually work on the game will be where I'm wearing the suit and animating more stuff for John's movement. And some of it I already recorded, so I'll just show how I apply it. But altogether, yeah, I want to make some more videos where I actually use the suit in the video and then apply the animation into the engine. And then we actually can start and work on some cutscenes, for instance. That would be cool to do as well. But also, well overdue, a painting video. We should make another concept for the game in Photoshop. And I'll do that probably as the next video. It should be a concept for one of the locations in this first area that is a part of this gate puzzle that we solve to enter the place, to transition to the world of horror. So yeah, I really hope I'll manage to do exactly that in the next video. And for now, this is it. Thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye! One problem with this displacement in the landscape material is that John is now like swimming over the ground, over this puddle, because... oh my god. Hey Google, It's showtime. That's right. It's doing this because displacement on the material of the landscape doesn't actually affect the collision, so you shouldn't fiddle too much with it like this. I might make John be unable to walk over these puddles because they're like these gross neonate puddles or whatever. But also, I'll need to look more into the landscape displacement and 5.4. There may be even dynamic collision in there. I'm not sure though. It might not be the case. Anyway, bye.